What is up, everybody? My name is Logan Schroen. Welcome to CTF Schroen Talks Football. Since it's Super Bowl week, I wanted to give you guys my top 10 favorite Super Bowls I have ever watched. Before we get started, there's one thing you guys should know, and it's the fact that almost all of these Super Bowls I have watched live and not in person, but like when it was live on TV. There's a couple that I haven't, but they're still fairly recent. So if there's a really old Super Bowl that was a really good game, it will probably not be on this list. And I apologize, but I wasn't around when that was a thing, so that's mostly why. Also, in that time frame, I didn't know football at the time, so I didn't know who players were and everything. While every single Super Bowl that is on this list, I have a very good understanding of who every player was that played in the Super Bowl for the most part, and it makes me understand these Super Bowls even more, and it makes it more entertaining. So let's not waste any more time. Don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, turn on notification bells so you miss any of my videos whenever I post. With all that out of the way, let's get started. Alright, so before we get on to the top 10, I want to give you guys one honorable mention, and that is none other than the 2020 Super Bowl where the Bucks beat the Chiefs 31-9 in their home stadium. I know there's going to be a ton of people that disagree with this one because, one, it was COVID year. Like, there was no fans at all. Like, hardly any fans at all, to where it made the atmosphere pretty dull. And also, this was a blowout, 31-9. Look at the score. The Bucks absolutely dominated. But my reasons of why I have this on an honorable mention at least is because if you really want to watch a game where it's extremely entertaining, high scoring, and both offenses are exploding with talent, then this isn't the Super Bowl for you. You're not going to find this one here. But if you're somebody like myself sometimes where you're really, really interested in defensive football and you're a fan of it, this is a very good Super Bowl in that aspect because the Buccaneers in this Super Bowl played some of the best defense any team has ever played in a Super Bowl. Like, I swear, like, they had the Chiefs on lockdown, and this was the 14-2 2020 Chiefs where their offense was historically great. Obviously, this was a time where their defense wasn't great, but that's beyond the point. Like, their offense was historically great. Mahomes was playing some of the best football in his career. But in this game, they had him locked the F down, dude. He couldn't do anything. He couldn't get the ball to Kelsey. He couldn't get the ball to Tyreek. Well, a part of it's because his receivers just forgot how to catch in this game as well. But most of the time, Mahomes was just locked down. He couldn't get anything going. And plus, this is at the time where the Chiefs weren't, like, hated yet, but they were starting to get kind of cocky. And even though I was still pissed as a Saints fan that the Bucks beat the Saints in the playoffs, I was still cheering for the Bucks to win because it was kind of cool to see Tom Brady and Gronk win one more Super Bowl before they both, like, I mean, they played their, like, one or two more years after, but it was like their last, like, really good Super Bowl that they've won. Especially in the timeline now where we're just sick and tired of the Chiefs and we hate Patrick Mahomes and, like, that whole team. So now we're, like, begging Tom Brady to come back. So we look back at the Super Bowl nowadays and actually miss it. So I give the Super Bowl the flowers for that. Alright, so now that we're starting on the top 10, at number 10, I've got Super Bowl 54, 2019, where the Niners lost to the Chiefs 20-31. I want to say, like, other than the game being pretty entertaining, this was like the last Super Bowl, I would say, that had really good commercialism for it. Like, that had a lot of hype towards it, and this was like the last Super Bowl that felt special. And what I mean by that is nowadays, when the Super Bowl is on, obviously it's a big deal, but there's, like, specialized commercials for Super Bowls. Like, they're meant to be funny or it's meant to be surprises. But nowadays, there's, like, none of that nowadays. While back then, like, this was, like, the last of it, there were specialized commercials for it. Like, remember, like, also, this was the 100th anniversary of the NFL, so which made it a lot more special. Like, it came out with some of the best NFL commercials ever produced. I know that had nothing to do with the game. It's just pretty nostalgic for me. Plus, this, in my opinion, being the last really good year until COVID era. But yeah, look, let's talk about the game. This game was very entertaining. It had two teams that we both liked at the time. Like, this was when the Chiefs were a very likable team. They were that next, like, very strong team that now is building themselves a dynasty. And then we also have a 49ers team that came off of a horrible injury season the year before and just came out of nowhere and pulling themselves in the Super Bowl. Like, no matter the outcome, we were going to be happy. And as soon as the 49ers had the upper end in the third to start of the fourth quarter, the Chiefs pulled off a miracle ended up taking the score and basically running with the Super Bowl in their hands. The Chiefs won their first Super Bowl in 50 years. So at the time, we were very happy that the Chiefs won the Super Bowl. Like, we wanted the Chiefs to win more than the Niners, shockingly, and we were happy with the outcome. Did it lead to a happy future with the Chiefs? Fuck no. But we were happy for the Chiefs then. I think the Super Bowl was a really good one. At number 9, we've got Super Bowl 56, where the Rams beat the Bengals in their home stadium in the 2021 Super Bowl 23-20. This was a good Super Bowl, man. Like, two brand new teams, two teams that were decently likable. I mean, the Rams, most people didn't like them because they just basically bought their team. But other than that, there was tons of players from both sides, like from both teams, that we both wanted to see get rings. So just like Super Bowl 54, no matter what the outcome, we were going to be happy. The only problem I have with this game, and it's nothing wrong with the game or anything, is that this Super Bowl is kind of forgettable. It's not like the teams played bad or anything, or the publicizing or anything. Like, when this Super Bowl was around, like, obviously it went crazy. But it's just the fact that other than the halftime show, nobody remembers this when they talk about history Super Bowls. And I really didn't know why for a while until somebody brought up this really, really good point in the fact that when the Chiefs are in the Super Bowl, we're watching like we're hate watching the Chiefs. Like, we're watching to hate watch the Chiefs. And I think that's such a good point that it makes such a good reason of why this Super Bowl is so forgettable. Like, it makes perfect sense. Like, we didn't hate watch any of these teams because we wanted both teams to win, while whenever the Chiefs are in the Super Bowl, we hate watch them because we want them to fail. Like, it makes such a good reason. But other than those reasons, this Super Bowl was still a good one, and it was still a really fun game to watch. I will put this at number 9. Next, we got number 8. I've actually got a tie between two Super Bowls at number 8 because obviously people are going to disagree with this one, and this one is very biased. But it's Super Bowl 44, where the Saints beat the Colts in the 2009 Super Bowl 31-17. I say that people disagree with this one because I already basically said it. Like, I'm biased. I'm a Saints fan. Obviously, this is a huge moment for me because I remember watching this game as a Saints fan, and I just remember being extremely happy that the Saints finally had something good happen to them. Sure, nobody wanted us to win the Super Bowl because of the whole thing where the coach was basically paying players to injure certain players. But as a Saints fan, I couldn't help it. I was a fan of the team. Obviously, I didn't agree with those actions. But as a fan, I wanted to see this team win. And even though this was kind of a blowout, this was just such a huge moment because we played Peyton Manning in his prime on the Colts. Like, that was huge. Again, I know this is going to be one that people will not like, but this is why I have it tied with another one that I think, if it wasn't for my biasy, this would be the Super Bowl I would replace its spot. And that is none other than Super Bowl 36, where the Patriots upsetted the St. Louis Rams in the 2001 Super Bowl, beating them 17-20. And I know I said every single Super Bowl I put in this list I personally watched. This is the only one I have not, obviously, because this came out before I was born. But I've watched it all the time in documentaries, and I've seen it all the time in videos. And I just couldn't help putting it on this list because this was just such a good Super Bowl, and it was such a big moment. Obviously, you had the Patriots at the time where they weren't even the favorites in this game. Like, this was considered an upset. But they basically had the Patriots in before their dynasty even started. Tom Brady making the start. You had Adam Vinatieri winning the game-winning field goal. Like, this was just a huge Super Bowl. Like, this was such a fun game to watch. And then obviously you have the St. Louis Rams, the greatest show on turf. Like, they were the favorites to win this game, and it makes sense because they had Kurt Warner, who was obviously amazing in his prime, and he was just leading this team very well. This game came down to the wire, too. Like, both teams were very close to each other, but what won the game? Adam Vinatieri kicking a game-winning field goal to win the Patriots their first ever Super Bowl. This is definitely such a great Super Bowl watch, and like, if you haven't seen it yet, like, try to look it up on YouTube. Go watch it. It's a great watch, and I feel like this has to be in my list. Alright, next at number 7, I've got Super Bowl 43, where the Steelers beat the Cardinals in the 2008 Super Bowl 27-23. Now, I will say for this Super Bowl, I desperately wanted to see the Cardinals win this one because this team was so likable. Kurt Warner was making the charge. Larry Fitzgerald, who doesn't want to see him get a ring? Like, I really wanted to see the Cardinals win this, but the Steelers came off with the win. came up with one of the best catches in the Super Bowl. You can see on the screen right there. But honestly, I wasn't upset that the Steelers won. Like, there was a couple players like Big Ben, like I wanted to see get a ring. But I desperately wanted to see the Cardinals win this. So seeing this makes me sad. But beyond the point, like, this was still such a fun Super Bowl to watch. Both teams were extremely good. Both teams were really close to each other. And this was one of the best Super Bowls I've ever watched. Like I said before, I desperately wanted to see the Cardinals win, but I'm not fully upset because the Steelers were definitely deserving with this Super Bowl win. I have it at number 7. All right, next at number 6. This Super Bowl still pisses me off. We've got Super Bowl 58, where the Niners lost to the Chiefs again in the 2023 Super Bowl, 22-25. This is the most recent Super Bowl right now until the Super Bowl this week, but yeah, like, still watching this, it still pisses me off. Even though this was still a really good game, and it was really close, and it went to overtime, this game was just so badly called that it just ruins the experience. Plus, this is when the Chiefs started becoming really insufferable. Like, almost all the players were extremely unlikable. Obviously, Patrick Mahomes being a crybaby, Travis Kelce being this douchebag, Taylor Swift getting all the freaking screen time in the world. Like, it was just a mess. And plus, like, I still really like the Niners, like, just because a whole lot of my family are Niners fans, but let's be real. Nobody wanted to see this matchup. We wanted the Lions versus the Ravens or the Lions versus the Bills at the time. Like, we wanted that. We did not want to see this. But it's not like this year where we didn't, like, nobody wanted to see the Eagles. Like, at least most people wanted to see the Niners. So we were still okay with this one, but we were all rooting for the Niners to win this Super Bowl. And what did they do? Just like last time, they shit the bed in the fourth quarter. They made crucial mistakes to where the Chiefs started coming back, and that's what led to them losing, and other than a bunch of shitty calls by the refs. I know that started turning into a little bit of a rant there, but I still think this was still a really fun Super Bowl to watch. Like, it was obviously like one of the only overtime Super Bowls we've watched, and yeah, it still pisses me off watching the highlights, but this is still a really good Super Bowl to go back to. Next at number 5, we've got Super Bowl 45, where the Steelers beat the Packers in 2010, 25-31. This was such an entertaining Super Bowl, man. Like, both teams in this Super Bowl, obviously fantastic. Even though we were all really happy that the Packers won, like, I still think the Steelers were such a worthy opponent to win this one. They were starting to get a little cocky, but they were definitely a good team. They weren't like Patriots or Chiefs cocky, so no matter the outcome, it was a good watch. If you've watched the Packers this 2010 season, they were such a likable team. This was Aaron Rodgers' first ever Super Bowl run, and this was the only run he made his whole career, so it definitely is special if you're an Aaron Rodgers fan. I feel like the late 2000s and like the early 2010s were just filled to the brim with great Super Bowls, and this is no exception. Like, this is a fantastic Super Bowl to watch. Alright, at number 4, this is a historic one. We've got Super Bowl 51, where the Patriots made their historic comeback against the Falcons to win 34-28. This was the historic, iconic 28-3. The Patriots were losing 28-3 at halftime, and they made this historic comeback to win 34-28, winning their 5th Super Bowl. I know if you're a Falcons fan, this one's a pretty tough pill to swallow. Like, I know this one's kind of a sensitive one to you guys. I understand that. But to everyone else, like, you got to look back and see how crazy the Super Bowl was, dude. We thought the whole time the Falcons were going to just keep destroying the Patriots. They had the game on their belt. Like, they were finally going to get their first Super Bowl. Like, they were definitely a very likable team, too. They had Matt Ryan, Julio Jones. Like we really wanted to see them get rings. So for them to blow a 28-3 lead, like, it was really crazy. Plus, if you've been watching football since that, you can tell whenever you've watched the Falcons, they've never gotten over that. Like, they've blown several leads in the past, like, after the Super Bowl. Like, they've never forgotten about this, and they probably never will. This is one of the craziest Super Bowls we'll ever watch in our lifetime, and if you're looking for an entertaining Super Bowl to watch on YouTube or something, this is a Super Bowl you should watch. This is a crazy one. Next, at number 3, we've got Super Bowl 49, where the Patriots beat the Seahawks 28-24. This was a fantastic Super Bowl, dude. Both teams were extremely good. The Seahawks were obviously in their mini dynasty they're having. They had basically the Legion of Boom. Like, this was such an entertaining Super Bowl. and from both sides, we wanted to see players win their first rings. I don't care what you say, I will still say the Seahawks fans at the time were obnoxiously annoying, but you can't lie by saying that this Seahawks team wasn't extremely entertaining to watch. Like, one of the best defenses we'll ever watch in their prime. Marshawn Lynch, Russell Wilson, dude, this was such a fun team to watch, and it's a shame of how the Seahawks didn't win the Super Bowl. And that leads me to my next point of how this Super Bowl is so iconic. They make a good drive for themselves. It looks like the Seahawks have this game on their belt. Like you knew the Seahawks were going to pull this one off, and it's either second and goal or third and goal. I honestly forgot which part. But you're thinking to yourself, okay, they're going to run with Marshawn Lynch. They're going to win the game off a Marshawn Lynch touchdown. Nope. On the freaking goal line, Russell Wilson drops back the pass, and he throws a game-losing interception to lose the Super Bowl. This is still a crazy situation today because we look back at that Super Bowl and we still ask the same question year in and year out. Why didn't they run with Marshawn Lynch? They had Marshawn Lynch on their team. Like, why didn't they run the ball? But other than that big moment, this was such a fun Super Bowl to watch, and this will always be one of the best we'll ever watch. Next at number 2, we've got Super Bowl 57, where the Chiefs beat the Eagles in a thriller, 38-35. This was a great Super Bowl, man. Like, you had both teams being extremely good. Both teams were the best teams in the NFL. Like, this is one of these Super Bowls where you're for sure shit. These are the two best teams in the NFL going head-to-head. There's so many storylines, too, where you have Jason Kelce versus Travis Kelce, the family rivalry. You have Patrick Mahomes playing his Super Bowl with basically one leg because his leg was terribly injured. And other than one very questionable PI call in the fourth quarter, this was a very clean called game. Like, there was hardly any bad calls. It was a very good game, and basically, it was just a Super Bowl to see who was the better team. Like, it felt fair. And even though we weren't extremely happy with the outcome, we kind of wanted the Eagles to see the Eagles win this one. Like, the Chiefs ended up getting the win, and we weren't terribly upset. We were hoping for the Eagles to win, but it wasn't a terrible outcome. So yeah, I think this is a very, very fun Super Bowl to watch. This is definitely one to go back to, especially this year, since for some weird reason these two teams are rematching this year. So if you want to go back and watch one of their previous matchups, this is the perfect one to watch. And finally, at number 1, we've got the best of them all, Super Bowl 53, where the Patriots beat the Rams in a historically amazing 13-3 fashion. This had so many historic moments, and it has the best of all time in everything. Game, players, halftime show, commercialism, everything. It was the best in every single position. Like, it had everything. I'm just kidding, dude. Like, this Super Bowl sucked, and everything about it sucked. Alright, for real this time. At number 1, we've got Super Bowl 52, where the Patriots lost to the Eagles 41-33 in 2017. This is one of the most nostalgic Super Bowls I have ever watched, and this is one of the best Super Bowls I have ever watched in my life, dude. Both teams were extremely strong. Tom Brady throwing for almost 500 yards in this game. Nick Foles making the start at quarterback. Like, it was amazing. It was such a crazy bowl, too, because we already knew the Eagles had an amazing defense that year, but we were all thinking the Patriots were going to have an easy win because it was a backup quarterback playing in the Super Bowl. Carson Wentz was injured. Like, it was a backup playing in the biggest game of his career. Like, we didn't think the Eagles were going to do much. And lo and behold, they played the best game of the season, and they had an absolute show of great talent, dude. Like, this was amazing. And it's funny enough because Tom Brady's had a few Super Bowl losses in his career, but out of all of them, he's still salty about this one today. Like, I know he's still upset about his losses to the Giants in the Super Bowl, like the last 2 times he was in the Super Bowl with the Giants. But like, when he was against the Eagles, he's still salty about this. Like, and I get it too. 500 yards of passing almost, and he lost. Like, that's crazy. But that's what made it so crazy. You have the best quarterback of all time, the best quarterback in the league in that year, hit one of the best games of his career, and he loses to a backup quarterback who played the game of his life, playing the best game he will ever play in his career. And this game had so many great parts about it too, where you had Brandon Cooks getting absolutely leveled. You had the iconic Philly special. You have the Patriots making amazing plays on offense. Like, So many great moments in this game, like that made it so iconic and one of the best we'll ever watch. I adore this Super Bowl, and I will always go back to this one, dude. This is probably the best Super Bowl I will ever watch in my life. And there you guys have it. That was my top 10 list of my favorite Super Bowls I will ever watch. Let's just hope this Super Bowl this week will be somewhat entertaining. I don't think it will. I think the Super Bowl will suck, but let's just hope for the best. But with all that being said, that is where I'm going to be done for the day. Don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, turn on notification bells so you don't miss any of my videos whenever I post. I'm Logan Sharon. I'll see you next time.